let's get started. Welcome everyone to the webcast today on BIM for Everyone, introducing Autodesk Assemble. My name is Jatin, and I am the AEC Tech Consulting Lead here at VinZero. So in this webinar, we will learn how Autodesk Assemble allows anyone to condition, query, and connect BIM data to key workflows, including design reviews, takeoffs, estimating, and change management. And by utilizing these key workflows, we can reduce risk and improve efficiencies during project planning and execution. We will be going through a live demo as well, presenting some of these features in Assemble. And as always, we'll have a quick Q&A session at the end. Before we get to the main topics, just a brief overview of what VinZero is and does. We are a solutions organization that fosters innovation through delivering software and hardware solutions, consulting, training, development, and managed services. We've become a trusted advisor to our clients due to the breadth and depth of our service offering and technical expertise, our commercial agility, and understanding of customer service. Also, we have an excellent ANZ footprint with offices in large parts of Australia and New Zealand. We're actually one of the largest Autodesk partners in the world and considered by businesses we deal with to be a trusted advisor. We offer services such as data management, BIM implementation, consulting services, CAD management services, on-site and online training, and customized content creation. The majority of VinZero A2K staff are from the industry, so we understand the challenges our clients face, and therefore we can deliver solutions through a combination of experience and innovation. A little bit about me. My name is Jatin Sharma. I have over 7 years experience in the AEC industry as a BIM manager, designer, and technical instructor. Currently, my role at VinZero is that of an AEC Tech Consulting Lead, and my software skills include AutoCAD, Revit, Autodesk Construction Cloud, Navisworks Format, 3ds Max, and Assemble. Okay, for today's discussion, we're going to first start by digging into some of the current challenges that BIM teams face in the construction industry, and then we'll discuss how having a common data environment along with Assemble can help leverage BIM data to really bridge the gap with some of those challenges. Then we'll get into a live demo of Assemble in action. And like I say, lastly, we'll have some time for Q&A to get any of the questions that you have that you're throwing in the chat box throughout the discussion. Okay, so if we dig into the construction industry, it's actually one of the most collaborative businesses in the world. Sometimes it can take up to hundreds of different companies to put a building up. But despite this, funnily enough, the data and information exchange remains fragmented, right? So these fragmented workflows affect projects from start all the way to the end. You know, how many times have you had your field teams working on incomplete or imperfect information from the pre-con teams? You know, what were those impacts on your projects? This fragmentation of data actually has a huge and direct impact on the project outcomes across all levels of the organization. You know, teams are disconnected and working from outdated information because they're all using multiple different applications, or even there's some companies that have a complete lack of digital adoption. And this all leads to loads of wasted time and security issues due to unnecessary people on the job site. At a project level, there's a disconnection between the office and the field accounts, which kind of goes towards massive avoidable rework, impacting projects' cost, quality, delivery time, and profitability. And on a business level, there's a major impact as well, because there's lots of unused and lost project data, which hugely reduces potential opportunities such as portfolio visibility. So the construction industry urges for more connection from people all the way to data. And of course, technology plays a key role within this opportunity. So to address the issue around fragmented workflows and connecting people, data, and technology, we often bring up the word BIM, right? But first off, what is BIM, right? If we put it quite simply, BIM is a process for creating and managing information on a construction project throughout its whole life cycle, right? Not just design. This process is known to effectively address the key issues we have highlighted within the construction industry. But why do firms shy away from BIM, right? So when we talk to our clients, the following reasons come up over and over again. The first thing is a lack of access to design tools, right? Not everyone that needs to engage with the BIM data has access to CAD software, things like Revit, AutoCAD, or Navisworks. There's a lack of BIM knowledge. So even if they did have access to all of these CAD platforms, there's a lack of understanding of BIM in all the other departments. And often the model authoring tools can be quite complicated. There's limited resources, right? You have BIM teams which are left supporting multiple different stakeholders and multiple different projects, and you don't want them to become the bottleneck. You have models that lack construction data. Again, we often hear that the design model lacks the data the extended teams need to be able to utilize the model for downstream workflows, such as WBS, activity IDs, cost estimation, et cetera, And then you have multiple design iterations. So obviously change is the one constant thing in construction. So you have teams that are often faced with multiple changes throughout the entire project. And it's really difficult to identify the changes from one version to another without the right solution. And the field team. So field teams often don't benefit from the model because they're left with workflows that are rooted in 2D and manual processes where, for example, a 3D view of a model can do wonders for them to better understand project complexities whilst they're on site. So you have BIM teams that often struggle to find a seamless and easy way to really empower these extended teams so that they can turn the BIM data into actionable information to make more informed decisions. Unfortunately, many of the design tools are desktop-based and they're quite complex. Not to mention there's manual tasks involved with static documents, spreadsheets, which are quite tedious, it's quite time-consuming, and of course, you cause delays and mistakes. So this is where the Autodesk Construction Cloud and Assemble can help. So the Autodesk Construction Cloud connects data, workflows, and teams throughout the entire building lifecycle, from design to operations across the headquarters, offices, and job sites. So Assemble leverages the common data environment within the Autodesk Construction Cloud and powers BIM workflows from design all the way to handover. So whether your team needs a robust cloud-based BIM data management tool for your office or the field, or you need to leverage the conditioned model quantities to power your 4D, 5D, or even 6D workflows, Assemble is what we found to be the perfect solution, right? So let's take some time to look at the capabilities and the workflows that's supported by these two products, starting with the common data environment. First, it's important to see visually how information is currently fragmented. I quite like this photo. So this is a very simplified view of how quite a lot of team members typically exchange information on a project. So we know that many of you deal with this reality today where information is flying across. Sometimes there's duplicates and everyone's kind of working in their own silos, if you will. But with a common data environment, this changes the landscape, right? Because the information actually flows through a central repository where, again, ideally, it's much more easily controlled and it's up to date, right? The CDE provides, or ideally should provide, mechanisms to gate information flow so that construction documents and other information such as markups and issues are only available when appropriate. Again, both BIM 360 and Unified products via Autodesk Docs will be supported by a CDE, including features such as having permissions, having an audit trail, being able to mark up documents and having it available for the right people to see it, being able to track issues, being able to set up appropriate naming standards so everyone knows what document they're looking at, being able to enforce that naming standard, and also having review and approval workflows all in a centralized location so everyone's on the same page. Because now we have an environment where information is controlled and up to date, we can push this information into a symbol to really empower our extended team. So once we get the information right, and we send that information across to a symbol, we're really able to empower our extended team. So again, this is where a symbol comes into play. So at a high level, a symbol is an extremely powerful model conditioning and BIM data management solution that enables BIM teams to organize, customize, and share model information with all the other key project stakeholders for a variety of different downstream workflows. Let's very quickly go through its main capabilities, and then we can jump into a live demo. So with the new connection between a symbol and Autodesk Docs, part of the Autodesk Construction Cloud and that common data environment that we're talking about, we're now able to connect a symbol back to design. Okay, so now you can take the published models that are created by the design teams in the cloud and bring them into a symbol to make all of that BIM data accessible to everyone without them requiring, CAD tools as well as knowledge around those CAD tools. You can even push the models if you wanted to straight from the design authoring tools, such as Revit or Civil 3D, straight into a symbol. Again, more on the pushing design models into a symbol. It's basically an add-on, whether it's Revit, Civil 3D, Navisworks, IFC, or even AutoCAD. You can use the publisher add-ins to push the models directly into a symbol's web environment from the CAD software. Again, a symbol facilitates model conditioning and data exchange for user-defined properties without the need to create parameters in Revit, right? This is key because now you're not relying on design teams or the BIM manager to update or change information within the models that can easily be done by the extended team. And that's that big bottleneck that we were talking about. And this is mitigating that huge bottleneck. Okay, it's also very easy to condition a model with information and organize a model in a way you want to see it, and even standardize it for your on-site field teams. So for example, they could be on their iPad, be on their job site and click on a view and everything will be there for them and they don't have to do anything. You can also automatically visualize in color using any properties. And of course, I'll show that in the demo shortly. Within a symbol, you can easily visualize the project scope and complexities in 3D, whether it's on your desktop, your iPad, phone, laptop. It's very easy to create shared views relevant to workflows and scope. So again, for example, you could create a 3D view that's based on a wall takeoff and have it available to everyone, including the people on site. Again, we'll go through this in the demo shortly. A symbol lets you easily group, sort, and filter your quantities, organize bid packages for your estimating solution. You can even actually organize the inventory by color to manage WBS, estimates, or schedules, and connect it to 5D workflows. With the new model version, essentially when a new model version gets released, a symbol runs a variance check, which graphically shows what parts of the model have been added, deducted, and changed in terms of quantity. So in addition, you can actually also track any model properties such as area, length, or weight. A symbol, like I said before, also allows anyone to dive into 4D workflows. So the field teams could be on site on their iPad and actually connect their project schedule with the model so they can easily see what areas should have been finished, what are still pending, what are the ones that are being delayed. So in this webinar, over and over again, I've been mentioning these 4D and 5D workflows. So for anyone that isn't aware, within the BIM sphere, we typically define 4D as adding scheduling information to model construction sequences, and 5D as adding cost information to a model. Okay, so 3D is just a 3D model. 4D is adding scheduling information to the model construction sequences, and 5D is adding cost information to the model. Yeah, and field teams can easily evaluate risks by exploring the project in 3D to understand complexities that can be missed in 2D, right? There's also an offline option to provide quick access to views created by the BIM team. So they don't need a web connection whilst they're on site for them to be able to see the views. They can update all the things they want to, and once they get back online on the internet, all that changes just syncs through. Reporting is huge. Being able to understand where projects are at and what areas are at risk is a very, very key metric. With the Power BI integration, you can actually grab all that data from Assemble and create powerful dashboards to report either at a project level or an executive level where you're looking across all of your projects that are happening, whether it's an office or multiple offices. Okay, I've shown enough slides. I think it's time to get into the demo. So I'm just going to open up my Assemble environment. Okay, so when you get into your site, it will often say your site name. So A2K Technologies for me, your server, and then it's just try assemble.com. These cards here represent the projects that we're currently working on, and any projects that were finished or were archived, we access by going into archived projects. Now there's a key little picture here in these cards, and that's the little cloud, or essentially this little circle symbol here. So if I hover over the circle, it says it's this project, ACC Demo Project Sandbox, is actually linked to Autodesk Construction Cloud Project, ACC Demo Project Sandbox. So what it's essentially saying is the project that I have here in my Autodesk Construction Cloud environment is linked to this Assemble project here. So this is what I mean. So here is that common data environment. And if you do want more information about ACC, we have done webinars, so you can reference them on YouTube. But all of the information that the design teams are collating and publishing in this common data environment, we can actually push into Assemble directly. Okay, so if I go into this project, I quite like using the ACC demo project. You'll see it in quite a few of my webinars. I'll just open that up. Beautiful. So this is my project page. On the left-hand side are the models that I've asked to be put from here into Assemble. I've got some custom views here, so I don't need to start from scratch. And on the right-hand side, I've got a bit of an activity list of what are the things that people are getting up to in these models. Okay, just to confirm that there is this live connection, I'm going to click on add/update models. And if I click on this, you'll see that the folder structure here is mimicking the folder structure in my ACC environment. Okay, so I can just go ahead and go into the appropriate folder where the teams have uploaded the design models, and I can just push them straight into Assemble. So this is that connection I keep referring to over and over. And the ACC environment has got, things like permissions, revision control, et cetera, to make sure that whatever I'm publishing into Assemble is always the data that is up to date. So I don't need to worry about it. You can see here, I've actually got an updated model available. So all I would do is just click on this to make sure that I have the most updated version. I'm going to go into my architectural model first, because this model is completely up to date. So I would just click on this. And it's going to go ahead and open up my 3D model. I'm just going to add some edges to the shading. So this is my building here. Okay, so to go through some workflows in Assemble to kind of show you some functionality, I'm going to go over some very basic couple of steps you can do, and then I'll put on a persona and say what kind of workflow that persona would conduct within Assemble. So very quickly, you can explode this building and kind of explode it out and see all the different components that make up this model. I don't have to slide this all the way out to bring it back. I can just unclick the explode function and it will take it back to the original model. I can, if I want to, section if I'd like. So I might use the Z sectioning to push this down so that I can take a look at what's happening perhaps in the first level. If I'm annoyed by this plane, I can just turn off the plane and take a quick look and see what's happening within my model. Okay, at any point, if I'm interested, I can go in here and I can actually make use of measurements as well. So if I wanted to measure parts of this model just to make sure that it's all correct, I'm able to do so. Okay. So again, in terms of navigation, you just use your middle mouse button to pan and use your left and right clicks to rotate. Okay, fairly straightforward. On the left-hand side here is a list of all the different items that make up this model, and you can see things like money and quantities and units. And on the right-hand side, there's some additional functionality, which we'll go over shortly. If I ever wanted to turn off, or rather on and off, any of these little views, I can just reference the buttons here. So if I wanted to turn on and off the inventory, or if I want to turn on and off the 3D model. Okay. So let's take on some personas and go over why we use the term giving the power of BIM to extended teams. Okay, so I'm going to take on the role of an architect, for example, or someone in the architectural field, or even the construction team, and I have no idea about Revit, right? I've never used the software. Okay, so I've come into Assemble, and I know that this model was made in Revit, but I don't know anything about how it got created or the intricacies of Revit. But what I am interested in as an architect is understanding the function of all the walls that are in this building. So to give you some context, quite often when design teams are creating 3D models, especially in the architecture space, they'll be creating walls, but sometimes the function that they add to the wall is not quite correct. Like they'll have things like exterior or core shaft or retaining, and it's not in the right place. So that's what I want to check for, but I've never used Revit before, right? So I'm relying on Assemble to help me out. So the first thing that I would do would be to filter this view so that the only things I see are walls, right? So watch this. So again, I've never used Revit. I just know that walls exist here, and that's all I want to see. So I'd go into the model tree. So these are a list of all the different components that make up this 3D model. And I'm going to go into visibility settings. Okay. And again, I can even save all these views. I can set everything up so that I don't even have to go this far. But let's say that we're all quite new and we're starting from scratch. So I'm going to give it a rule. I'm going to say, well, the only thing I want to see is walls. Okay. And that's all I want to see. And I'm going to go update. So now Assemble is going to think about it. And the only thing that I can now see is walls. Okay. Which is step one. So this is fine. This is great. I can see walls, but how do I know what are the things that they've added to these walls? Again, I don't know Revit. I don't want to click on each one and go through like their properties because I don't know what to look for because I've never used Revit. But I know the design teams do, and they would have added this information. So what I can leverage is I can go color by property within Assemble. So I can click on this, and this is a really, really cool functionality, right? So what this will do is you can color all of these objects by any property that you'd like. Okay, so I'm going to start with function. So I'm going to turn this on. So by default, it starts with category name, but I don't want category name. I want function. So I'm going to type that in. Okay, and now in a couple seconds, I've got these colorings all sorted. So now very quickly and visually, I can take a look and see if there's something wrong. So yellow is for retaining, orange is interior, red is exterior, and dark red is core shaft. If I find that this dark red is a little bit hard to distinguish from red, I can just click on the properties area here and change the colors. That's not a problem. But now I'm able to very quickly analyze this model. I have no idea about Revit. I don't know anything about filters in Revit, but if a symbol wasn't around in this proposed company that I'm a part of, then what the design teams would have had to do is that they would have had to go through and actually within Revit create these filters, which are notoriously difficult to create, or just to do something what I've done in like 30 seconds. So that is the power of a symbol. That's what I mean by you're really empowering the extended team, because they don't need to know anything about the design authoring software. They can find what they need to find very quickly. So let's do another example. Let's say if I'm not interested in function, I want to see what different types of walls that they've created here. So I might say, I want to check for type mark. And it's going to go through and analyze it for me here. So I can see here, anything in white, things haven't been assigned. So I need to take a look at that. Okay. Let's do another example. Let's imagine that I'm not even an architect. I am part of the construction team, right? And I'm going to go on site and I'm involved in fitting ducts, okay, in this building. So I'm just going to turn everything off. Turn off all my filters. Okay, beautiful. And let's say, so I got my architecture. I'm just going to turn on my services model as well, because obviously I want to look at the ducts. Okay, beautiful. Okay, I am, again, you can do this on your iPad. You can do this on your desktop. I'm just showing it on the desktop because it's easier for the purpose of the webinar in order to show people. So I'm part of the construction team. I'm about to install some ducts. There's some information I have already just to paint a picture. And so I want to be able to put all that information into the model and also visualize where we're at from a construction perspective. But again, I don't have any knowledge of design software. I just know what I'm looking for. So I'd go into visibility settings. And again, you can, like I say, set everything up so that they don't even have to go this far. They just click a button like a particular view and everything would show up the way they would like it. So I'll add a rule. I'll say ducts. But let's say I don't even know that ducts is a category that people can search for. So I can actually just choose, I want to see everything that contains ducts. Anything that has the name duct inside of it, I want to see. So I'll hit the update button. And it's going to go through and find all the different duct and duct systems, et cetera, and duct fittings, whatever the case may be. Now, this may be a little bit hard to look at because it's not giving me context around the building. So I'll just turn on my ghost mode so that I can just see the ghost of the building behind. So it gives me like a little bit more context. Okay. And let's say that I want to color this by level because I'm installing all these ducts by level. And so I want to go through it in stages. So I'd go into color by property. Okay, I'll go color my objects and I want level. Okay, just give it a second. Oh, I may have to refresh. Let's go through that one more time. It is a cloud system, so sometimes it doesn't cache perfectly. Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, easy. Go ahead and try that one more time. Yep, there we go. So now, if I was to go by level, there we go. So it's gone ahead now and done all the coloring. And again, if I wanted to, I can add some context of the building behind it. So now what it's done is it's colored everything by the different levels. So we have part 1 done. Okay. I'm just going to turn on my inventory again. And right now in my inventory area, I'll just turn off my 3D model for a second. In my inventory area, all this looks kind of jarring. I don't really know what I'm looking at, right? So I can actually filter through this list as well to find what I'm looking for. So I'm going to say, I don't want you to group it by category. I want you to group it by level so that I can select things really quickly. So because I can select everything in level 1, level 2, etc., etc. So I'm going to bring back my 3D model. Beautiful. Okay, I'm just going to move this just a little bit more here. Right, so I know that, for example, level 1, we are currently in progress with level 1, and I want to articulate that back to the design team, and I want to add that information to this design model. Now, normally, if I didn't have a symbol, I wouldn't be able to add that information to this design model unless I was using something like Revit and create those parameters and go through that process. You just wouldn't be able to do it, right? But with a symbol, what you can do is that you can actually leverage something called a symbol properties. Okay, so these are, so at the bottom are all of the properties that come from the design software, but the things under a symbol properties here are all custom properties that you can create at an account level within a symbol to then propagate to these models. So now you can add things like how many man hours did it take to complete this area? What was the start date? What was the finish date? That's kind of coming in that 4D, 5D that I was talking about. You know, you can add things like, well, what was the paint area? What is the planned install date? You can add all of this information, a part of this design model that wasn't previously available. So now my knowledge within construction can now be added to this model without necessarily knowing the design software. So I've got a variable here called status, okay? And once I've put it in, I can put in multiple different values in these different levels. But once I put that in, I can actually color it by those particular, by the ones that I've created, right? So this is not even coming straight from design software. So now I can quickly see in my view, I'll just get rid of my inventory again. Everything in green is what's been completed. Everything yellow is what's still in progress. So now really quickly, I can see what's actually happening in my site at a high level. I can take a snapshot of this and send it to someone if I need to. I can save this as a view so that next time I don't need to go through all of the filterings. I just go straight to the view and it'll show me this, and I can update it as I need to weekly. And again, you can, when you save the view, be accessible to the iPad as well as the computer and across to everyone that's involved in the project. Okay. Again, empowering people that have a lot of knowledge around construction and allowing them to put that information in to the design model without them requiring CAD software. And there's multiple other workflows and things that you can do within a symbol. Just please get in touch with us. Any idea that you have around these scenarios and you're like, I wonder if it can do this, just let us know, because we're always surprised at what clients are doing with a symbol. It's quite crazy. And we haven't even gone over in this webinar anyway some of the things you can do around cost, okay, and quantities, because you can attach costings and quantities as part of this as well, okay, and get some really powerful metrics. The last thing I want to show you before I jump back and we can get into Q&A is change management. So I'm just going to get rid of my services model for now. Just have one model. Okay, perfect. Just get rid of all that. Perfect. And I'll just get rid of all my ducks and everything. Get right back to the Again, if I was being quite good, I'd have a view that's called overall that I just press every single time I'm done with doing, tinkering around with stuff. So I don't need to go through all of that. But this is a webinar, so we'll go through the entire method, so you're aware of what the software, or where to go within the software anyway. Okay, so I've got this architectural model, right? And people have been working on it, every single week or bi-weekly, and they're sharing updates and they're doing what they're wanting to do. Now, it's going to be really hard for me to actually go through this 3D model and find what are the things that have been changing from the last time the design team have actually published and shared this, right? I want to know very quickly what it is and whether or not it actually affects me. So what you can do is you can actually click on what we call show changes over here. And the show changes is connected to the view. So for example, if you have filters in your view, it will only show changes, with respect to those filters as well. So you can make it a lot more intelligent than what I'm showing you right now. So I'd click on show changes. And it's going to take a look at all the previous times this model was published and give me some context. So not much has changed between the last version and this one. It's just these two little panels. I might just say, I want to see the difference between version 3 and the latest version. There'll be a couple more things, but you imagine just trying to find those two changes. It'll take you forever, right? So with this, now I can see here, everything in purple is components where they've changed the quantity in a certain way, like area, et cetera, or concrete, whatever the case may be. There are components which have been removed. So these basins have been removed between version 3 and the latest one. There are a couple of things that have been added, and again, some more quantities which have been changed. Okay, and I can very quickly visualize and see that without having to actually trawl through this entire model. Okay, again, you can attach filters to it so that you don't need to keep going back and forth, and it's all very straightforward. And if I actually want a bit more information, like if I want information around like quantities, because I can see there's some level of quantities which have been changed and I want to know what they are, I can turn on my inventory and it will tell me in a bit more. I'll just get rid of my 3D model. It will tell me what things have changed. So the ones in red are obviously been, going downwards, and the ones in green, it's got up, right? So I can see that all these changes here. So there's a change between A to B in the quantity of these conduit runs. And it's in meters as well. So it makes it very straightforward for me. So if I'm doing, cost analysis, I could attach a cost analysis to it to see what's changing. If you're a project manager, this would be super, super useful. And again, not having to worry about design software or any of that information. Cool. Again, like I say, this is only a taster. There's a lot more that you can do. Just get in touch with us. There's things that you can do around, we're talking about project management. You can connect project management software to Assemble, so you can directly link your project schedule with the components. You can, there's lots that you can do. So please get in touch.